let's go with Cam Inman, Bay Area News Group, joining us on the River Islands guest line. And if you want to see his handsome face, you can go to YouTube and watch him there as well. Hello, Cam. How are you, my friend?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are we doing?
We're doing great. We're doing great. But how's Ricky Pearsall? Is this done already? What's going on?
Certainly didn't sound good yesterday. The 49ers usually apprise us maybe before practices of what the injury status is of guys. And when they said Ricky's got something going on with the same knee, could be related, you just knew how serious it was last year with him. So obviously, on Monday, the second practice of camp, he looked pretty darn good. I think he had about 3 catches in a 6-snap span, like towards the end of practice. So he was looking okay, and looked okay on Sunday, the first day too. So it was a surprise, but at the same time, it's if it swells up, hopefully they check it out and figure out what to do. But we haven't had any updates whether if it's surgery and that's going to knock him out for the year, or if he's going to just try to ice it out and rest it and give it a week or two. So we don't know yet.
Do you get any sense, or have you found out what his offseason was like, whether or not he was able to do normal workload, or was he babying the knee? Do you know anything about what he did between the end of the year and the start of camp?
I don't think athletes baby anything anymore, do they? He was one of the guys that posted videos of himself working out. And I know he posted one like right before camp of him working out in New York. But I will tell you that we only were able to watch 2 OTA practices this spring because they canceled the mandatory minicamp. And Ricky was out there for the first one, but the second one he was not. And I believe he was in the weight room. I saw him in the weight room. So that probably was a little bit of a red flag that, okay, well, they're making sure he's getting back to full health, or maybe aggravated it again. So I don't know. I just know that, when he going into this season, we thought he's going to be the starter with Mike Evans. And then they could complement him with De'Zhaun Stribling or Christian Kirk, Jordan Watkins, Jacob Cowan, Demarcus Robinson, whatever that is. But obviously the Niners gave themselves some insurance by getting Mike Evans, drafting De'Zhaun Stribling up top. So I don't think they were overly reliant on Ricky as much as they were a year ago when they didn't have IU going into the year, and it was basically Juwan Jennings or bust.
Cam, I hope this is not the case. I don't want to call for speculation, but if this were to go down the road where it was something more serious and long-term for Ricky Pearsall, what does that mean bigger picture-wise for his career?
You know what? This kind of bothered me yesterday when I heard one of the reporters made a snide remark about how he's made of glass and an injury club. I'm appalled by it because this is a career that barely was going to be in existence. He survived a bullet wound through his chest, and anything on top of that was amazing, right? And he's dealt with shoulder injuries. He had hamstrings, whatever. When he played, he had 3 100-yard games. He started off last season with 200-yard games of their first 3 games. So it's not like you're saying he's a bust. Injuries happen in the NFL. And I think it's way too early to speculate that his career's over. But I also am really kind of offended and disgusted if people just kind of like rip him apart, like just because he's had a couple of injuries in a sport where injuries are part of the business.
I'm totally with you on that. And if that was poorly worded, I didn't necessarily mean career over.
No, not on your part.
I guess I want the question I'm wondering is from the Niners' perspective, right? He would be like, this is year 3. Right, like the rookie 4-year extension whole thing would be coming into play. Like, where would this leave him if he's unable to play football this year?
Yeah, because it wouldn't count as a vested year because he didn't play this year. So that year would toll over. So they would still get an extra year to judge whether they would want to. That's my understanding because you're as a first round pick, you have a 4-year contract, and then the team can decide whether they want to guarantee your 5th year. So I think it might push that back a year. I'm not positive on that. But the other thing is, it's like Ricky's a very positive guy, well-liked on the team. and he's not a guy that like was very aloof or egotistical. He has a love for playing football. So I don't think there's any question that he doesn't put in the work. And he just, week 4 last season, he landed hard on that knee, and it essentially derailed his year. And he tried to come back from it. He played a little bit in the he actually played, I think, 60% or 70% in that Seattle game of the playoff exit. Didn't have a catch. He only had 2 targets, so it's probably more of a decoy, but he gave it a go. So I think people have a high opinion of Ricky. This is not a, oh, God, get him off the team kind of guy.
And they draft De'Zhaun Stribling in the first pick of the second round. Was that just a player they liked, or do you look at that now kind of as a hedge just in case Ricky's knee wasn't good?
Could it be both? Because I think they loved him a lot. And just watching how Stribling's played, just in the limited window that we've seen, very impressive. Not catching every single ball to him. He's a rookie. Maybe some are off target or whatever, but each of the first 2 practices, he made a play where you're saying, oh, okay, number 15, this isn't our 15 of Juwan Jennings. It's not a Michael Crabtree 15. Stribling is unique. He's got some size, but he's also very athletic. He's got great hands. He's very mature. So I think right now they love what they're seeing out of him. I asked Clay Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, yesterday, if Evans is playing split end, then the other full-time role is flanker, right? And flanker is kind of like the Jerry Rice position where you're in motion, you're getting a lot of targets. And whether Stribling would be up for that or, the Niners' trademark response with this offense is you have to know every receiver position because you can line up everywhere in Shanahan's offense. But to me, if he can get down what the flanker is, sure, he could be line up in the slot. They move these guys around all the time, but he's tracking right now to becoming a full-time player faster than anybody expected.
I mean, and I would love to hear more even about that. Would they be comfortable if it spins that way personnel-wise, starting him week 1?
Well, I think you're going to have to find that out over the next month, and it's not necessarily preseason games. They haven't even done one-on-ones in camp yet, where it's one-on-one against a cornerback and a DB. The bigger judgments will come in the joint practices against the Titans, right, and against the Chargers, and just see how you do against somebody on the opposition. And really it's going to come down to, do you know where to line up at all the different spots? Because you can't just put them in there in a specialized role and have them be full-time because you're going to have them line up in different areas and know what to do. But at this point, it seems like he's all right, and they're very encouraged by him.
What has been your initial takeaways seeing and talking to or getting to be up close with Mike Evans?
We haven't talked to Mike much. We did a Zoom with him when he signed. He came in, had a press conference upon when he came to OTAs, I believe. Very professional guy. Does he need training camp to kind of get the feel with Brock Purdy? I have a hard time thinking that's the case because, Mike Evans is a guy that's going to use his physicality to push, to give himself some room to get whatever Brock's throwing up at him. I kind of want to explore the idea of, the Niners bringing back the alley-oop with R.C. Owens and Brody and just how they used to do it at Keysar. Throw that baby up to Mike Evans because although I think 49er fans are still forever scarred with fades to the right side of the end zone with Kaepernick to Crabtree. Those didn't go over so well. But I think Mike Evans, he's still got juice in him. He certainly – he's a pro. Even just in warm-ups yesterday, I'm watching him, and he's off to the side. He's got 2 or 3 guys throwing passes at him in each direction. This before the offensive drills, something that Kittle would kind of do. So he's a pro's pro that takes everything very seriously, and that's going to rub off on a lot of these younger wide receivers because they have to see how a true star does his work habits.
Cam Inman, Bay Area News Group, with us, Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game, talking out Niner camp, which is now underway. I would love to hear you handicap the entire running back situation. So that both means, what does this James injury mean for Kalen Black? And how do you see the 49ers kind of peeling back the Christian McCaffrey workload?
I believe the McCaffrey workload gets peeled back when I see it, but I will say I see it as Christian McCaffrey getting 90% of the carries and Kalen Black getting 9% and Brock Purdy getting 1%, or like somebody running a reverse. I think Kalen Black is extremely exciting in terms of a rookie running back. You know, he has this tremendous burst, and yet he's going to be 25 years old as a rookie. And he's a mature guy that he looks like he's got the spring in his step of an 18-year-old. He looks fun to watch. But guys, I got to caution you. They haven't had pads on yet. There's no big live contact hitting. I'm not saying he's built like a rock, so it's going to be fun to watch how he does against the Fred Warners and Dre Greenlaws coming right at him. But pads come on tomorrow, and then at some point, I would imagine over the next few days, although they've changed camp up a little bit with their strenuous stuff. My favorite thing of camp is watching running backs and pass protection drills against linebackers, because the only way you're going to get on the field is if the coaches trust you to protect Brock Purdy. And a lot of young running backs don't know how to do it, or they don't want to do it. Frank Gore did it better than any running back I've ever seen. Frank Gore's going to the Hall of Fame because he had 10,000 yards rushing, but he was a tremendous running back in terms of picking up any blitzers. So I can't wait to see how Kalen Black does. You know, Jordan James has a broken rib that he sustained Monday. I don't know how long that'll keep him out. But, you know, he also was derailed in his training camp last year because of a finger and a knee injury. So that kind of set back his rookie season. So we haven't really seen enough of Jordan James to rule him out of this, because obviously he was kind of taking the number 2 role going into camp because of that 1-year seniority in the system. And then Garendo is a guy that tore his pec in the spring. He's working out on the side, so he's not a total afterthought yet. And then Patrick Taylor Jr., he's back. You know, he was kind of like the 5th man when they were going through injuries in 2024. But I don't see any burst out of him compared to Kalen Black, because Kalen Black looks great. McCaffrey looks pretty darn good too. And I think, Christian talked yesterday about he's 30 now, but that doesn't mean he's outdated for the NFL. I mean, this offense is still going to revolve around Christian McCaffrey, in my opinion.
You were talking about working on the side, and I know George Kittle's opening up on the pup. Are you seeing him do any work, or is he behind closed doors? And what do you think his status is going forward?
George is looking pretty good from what I can tell and everything that's being said. He does his pre-practice work when the media is in our tomb of Levi Stadium without windows, and we're not allowed out there. Well, every fan that has a ticket can come out and record, get exclusive George Kittle content. And so when we get out there, George is not out there, but George does come out for practice. He watches, talks to guys, talked to Kyle Shanahan yesterday in between a break. So that was kind of good to see. And when I talked to George back in the spring, he was very encouraged that, this is not going to be your regular Achilles comeback, because his did not require them drilling into his heel bone to reattach his Achilles. It was higher up, and to him that saved him about 2 months and kind of puts him on a fast track to getting back. And now it's a matter of, I guess, logistics. And aside from, him being healthy, do you have him fly all the way to Australia, play a game, when he needs a lot of treatment, and fly him immediately back? It's I don't know how that works, but if George is healthy enough to do it, he's going to want to do it, no doubt.
Cam, we'll be respectful enough not to ask to speculate on concussions and how much time and all that. But when you talk to Kyle, does he sound confident that he'll be coaching for week 1?
I think he's cautiously optimistic he will be, but he's taking this extremely seriously. He was extremely emotional, and I don't want to say remorseful, but very concerned about the other driver. And he was not concerned about himself or his reputation. He was obviously, I think he's taken concussions way more seriously he's ever had in his life now that he's dealing with it, because it is unpredictable and how his brain is responding. He is not ready to have a press conference right now. we had 7 reporters circling around his desk, sitting in chairs for a nice 30-minute discussion. It was great. It was very humanistic, very emotional, and we all understood his state. I mean, Kyle's looking pretty good, in terms of his face and his recovery efforts, but he is not diminishing how serious of an injury his brain suffered in this accident. And him taking accountability for the crash, we can talk about that. But I mean, to me, it is more about like kind of looking ahead. How is he recovering? And he's going through the proper steps that they need to. The music on the field can't help him, but he's out there. He's been out there for all 3 practices, watching the team drills for about 45 minutes each day. And then he tried. And I asked him. I said, how are you doing watching film? And he said that's the big thing, because obviously Kyle loves dissecting film. And he said he had got all of Monday watching it, but then like that night the headaches came back, and he had a lot of other stress going on. So it is something to watch. I will say this, that everything's running pretty darn smooth because of the system he and John Lynch have put in place for the last decade. And the coordinators are running the shows where they need to be. And Chris Forrester can be the front man. He will be tomorrow when he addresses the media. And then, see how there's no reason for Kyle to rush back right now. And he really should take all preseason off, let the coordinators handle this. And then, a week or 2 before the season, really take a bit more serious look into whether they have to go to alternative plans for week 1 in Melbourne.
And right now it's Clay Kubiak, I'm sure, calling the plays in his stead, and that would be the plan going forward. How has he been kind of assimilating to the role, even though it's most likely temporary?
Well, Clay this is kind of a nice thing. If you look back, Clay had play calling experience in the preseason, each of the last 2 preseasons. Kyle let him call the plays, and was it the 2024 finale at Arizona? So Clay has experience doing it. He seems very comfortable with it. Obviously, the name Kubiak's been in the coaching circles for a long time. His brother's coaching the Raiders right now. His dad was a longtime coach of the Broncos and Texans. Clay's very personal. I really enjoy talking to Clay. He does not come off as if he's a know-it-all or arrogant. He has a teaching background. And so Brock seems comfortable with him, relaying the play calls. And the beauty is Brock's been in this offense for 5 years now. Mac Jones is not a first-year guy in it. So if it is Clay calling the plays, there's going to be familiarity. But obviously Kyle is the best play caller, or one of the best in the NFL. And they're going to want him to, help out with whatever script they do before games, if it comes to that. And, John Lynch was expressing optimism on Saturday that he would expect Kyle to be back before then, but there are guarantees that'll happen.